So in FC24, the hardest thing to do, I think, other than scoring, because naturally you can normally get a shot off. It's natural that you can just press B and some shots just go in. You can almost feel lucky to find what shot works and you can just run with it. Defending, a little bit harder. So the first thing you can do, and it's the easiest thing to do, is quite literally learn to play. It is definitely not a thing that I would say you should snub your nose up at. I think every year I always normally go to the free kicks. You can go to the attacking scenarios, passing, fundamentals, because it's not necessarily the same as the game's just the same. It most definitely isn't. There's different metas, there's different ways to defend. You've got crosses in one game, you've got El Tornados in the other, and this one is about just naturally being off the ball a little bit more. It's about passing, it's about quick movement, and not overselling your defenders. So in this, you've got the defending tab that you can train with, you've got the jockeying, clearance, secondary contain, goalkeeper charge, and I think that's it for the training center. We can then have the skill games. I'm pretty sure this has defending still. We have defending in the skill games. Again, just something a bit different as well. I like the skill games because it is something a little bit fun. It's not quite all about matches, and it's dependent on what you want to do. But you've got, again, loads that you can do that will naturally just help you out in defending. If you are trying to go against an opponent, I must admit, going online is totally different to actually playing the computer, because I find that normally when you play the computer, you tend to go to the standard of what the computer is, because naturally we're bound to. The computer has a set algorithm. Even though it is very clever, you will find that there is bugs to exploit. Even when you go for instance, a corner that they have, if they bring a man to the corner, you know full well, at least if you've played enough squad battles, they will pass it. Regardless of you being close or not, if they bring him forward, he'll cross it. If there's no one there, then naturally they will always cross it in. Where they cross it is, you don't know. But let's have a look at this then. So we'll go into a match and we'll show you a little bit of defending. So let's go back to our standards. Beautiful. So if we go into this then, we're going to go off the beginner. We're going to go and say, we'll go on to professional. It doesn't matter about a minute, so I'm not finishing this match. We'll go on to professional just to have a little bit of extra kind of thing. No, thank you. Let's get into it. Because if we go on beginner or semi-pro, you'll find that they just don't attack in general. So what I'm going to be doing is basically using the centre mids as much as possible. So if we let them have the ball, it'll kind of push up a little bit. And as your formation drops, we want to be bringing this man back, because he can get behind the ball, he can dictate where he goes. This then is the perfect interception spot. What you want to be doing is just constantly watching the movements. I wouldn't necessarily be bringing this the defender out until as late as possible. It's not necessarily a constant rule. If you've got to bring him out or you think it's the right choice, then naturally do it, because it might be the right move. If you leave it too late, you could open up a hole. But in terms of defending, especially against a person, is you want to have as many man back as possible. Doesn't mean go and drop back, because naturally that is, again, a very heavy defensive orientated formation, which again will make you defend more, but also you then get to counterattack if you can defend it. So I would normally just stick with my centre mids. If, say, I'm waiting for an attack, I don't necessarily try and push too much on the up front, because I tend to be then not moving my defenders back. So as long as I've got my person here, my defender can drop down a little bit, and as he passes it to the other man, I've then got one centre back free. He's being marked by a CDM, so technically I'm in a plus positive there. If it's a 2v1, you've just got to mark the space. Hopefully he goes for, obviously, a pass and you could block it, or naturally you just hope that your keeper can save it. But in terms of defending, the best thing to do is literally practice it as much as possible. With certain buttons that you can do, oh, good shot from Lindelof. The triggers on the Xbox and on the PlayStation are going to be a great one for jockeying. So if I can give this ball away, I literally can't. As you see here, so if we're running down here, if I'm jockeying, I'm doing this little crab, because I'm then able to go into a sprint as well, but I can also then just hold off on the run, and then if I need to turn, it is a lot quicker to turn off a jockey than it is off a run. So naturally there, if I carried on running and I missed the ball, Lindelof wouldn't be able to head that one. So jockeying is going to be a big one, as long as you're doing it right, because if you're jockeying against a full sprint, that full sprint is going to be faster than you getting out of that jockey. Jesus, that's a hit. So that is always one to get a practice in. In Ultimate Team, there is a playstyle of plus for jockeying, which again makes it just a bit faster to get out of it, gets you back into your sprint. When it comes to centre-backs and moving their positions, always go backwards. Never put yourself towards the ball. If I just bring myself towards the ball here, I'm hoping Onana's going to make that save, and it's an easy one. They are the sort of defensive tactics you cannot go against. It's just a rebound. Sometimes you have it, sometimes it bounces off the keeper's hand, his head, his foot, his knee, his bum, and there is a lot that you can't do on this game, and unfortunately there isn't anything I can teach you there. But in terms of actually getting back, when I said, bringing the defenders back, I think a lot of the time, and you see it with a lot of the Division 9, 8, 7, what you'll find is they are attracted to the ball. So instead, for instance, if he goes down the wing here, instead of then, like, for instance, if I'm trying to chase back here, instead of going for the space, I'm going directly for the ball. So I'm kind of cutting across, meaning they can do that. They can literally just run around you very, very easily. If I'm cutting off the space, it means at one point he's got to make that turn. That turn slows him down inevitably, and you can make that move. So if I'm just here, I'm looking at where he's going to go into rather than necessarily running to the ball. Because like here, if I'm going here, A, that was a rubbish shot in general, but B, I could make that tackle if he makes that run forward, rather than just going straight headless chicken into that ball. He could have a better sprint on me, he could be faster, even throw in a cheeky skill move. That again is going to be another ball game to get by, but unfortunately that is something, again, you've just got to kind of learn. Skill moves, normally you find there's only a couple they use. Maybe you go for a step over, it's either left or right. You'll normally find which way they go just by watching the first one, because it tends to be that they go inside every single time. A cutback is again another one, or for instance, if you look at this one, if I can find preferably Rashford on the ball, this one is another great one that you're going to see. Oh my, okay. But that's another great one that you're going to see, and it's very, very easy to read. As soon as you see him step in like that, you know full well they're going at a degree angle. Always go back to your goal. Never go the opposite way, because if you guess wrong, say it is going left or right, because naturally it would, you can get it totally wrong. But in terms of defending, I'd keep on my feet as much as possible. I'd maybe use the jockey button, the secondary contain, which is RB on the Xbox, which would be R1, I'm assuming, if it's the front button. It's basically not the trigger button, it is the button. That will allow you to obviously have a second man, so if I can just let them have this ball. If I'm pressing RB, you see this guy here. He won't necessarily tackle, but he will run for the ball. And if you need a secondary person to move, so change the person, you've got to let go and press it again. He will run out of stamina of it as well, so if you just hold it repeatedly, eventually all your players will run out of stamina to get the ball, so make sure that you obviously are using it sparingly. So don't be using it here. You don't need to be pressing here unless you are 80th minute, 1-0 down, FUT Champs final for the final win of the game, then fair enough, maybe press a little bit. And again, don't both of you run to the ball as well. I was an absolute lunatic for that, and I'd be doing this, I'd be both containing, leaving so much space, and sometimes it works. But a lot of the time, what it does is gives your opposition a chance to go and get somebody else on the ball instead. Because if you've got two men on the pitch, you've all got the same amount of men. And if they're putting everybody forward, that means they've got someone. Oh my, what is with the tackling from the computer? That's not how to defend. Slide tackles only on last-ditch challenges for a red card if they're going through, but also if you think that you're going to get the ball forward, because everybody loves a good slide tackle. But in terms of defending, they're the best bits. Jockey, try and keep the contain, get the B button on maybe kind of a standing tackle, and naturally just don't commit your centre-backs forward. They are the best things that you can do in terms of defending in FC 24, and then naturally it is just practice, practice, practice. Let me know if you need any more help, if there's any other defending tips that you want to know. I think pretty much they are the basics, other than naturally getting into a match and trying it out. What do you think? Let me know down below.